Hey, how's it going? It is Sunday in the park, and I got stood up from my walk-in date this afternoon, so I had to just brace myself and do it all by myself again. Haha. I will let you know, I am not real good at dating. I never have been. I've always ended up with wonderful women in my life. But it's always been kind of an organic process every time I try to do it. And today, in the age of COVID, come on, I can't do the Tinder and the dating sites. I feel like an idiot. You have to sell yourself with words. Like, hey, I'm 56-year-old man. I'm unemployed due to COVID. I like long walks because I never learned how to drive. And my favorite things to do, go watch doom metal rock bands live and read hard-boiled crime fiction. That's and I'm an outspoken liberal, and I have a cat. So you see, it's not working for me, but I don't care anymore. I'm at that point. When I was young, you tell yourself as a young man, I'll never get to the point where I just give up on finding the love of my life. But hey, years ago, I gave up on that. But today, let's talk about the worst date that I ever had. And this was during a time period where I was single and wanting to find that love of my life, or any sort of romance, or sexual escapade, anything that could happen that would bring me closer to another human being. I was working on, and this story takes us back into the early 90s when I'm working at the record store. And I'm working in there alone one day, and a woman comes in, beautiful woman. She's all by herself, and I'm in the store by myself, and it's always kind of weird, but but I write her off right away because I immediately look at her and think, Eurythmics, Culture Club, maybe. I don't know what she's into, but it's probably not the same stuff as me. Stevie Winwood, and not the old Stevie Winwood, like from back in the day, but like new Stevie Winwood, But she opens her mouth and says some magical words. She says, "You got any Pixies?" And I'm like, whoa, I did not expect you to say that. And I'm like, oh, yes, we do. We have your Doolittle, your Come On Pilgrim. I got it all right over here. And I watch her shop for music in the store, and I'm amazed at her choices. She ends up coming up to the counter with some Pixies album. I can't remember which one, but I do remember that she also got Tim by The Replacements, both on wax. And I'm like, okay, this woman's cool, and as apart from being very lovely. And so I try my chance. I'm like, I'm terrible at this too. She goes to the counter, I'm ringing up her records, and I'm like, there's a band playing at the Belmont Inn tonight that sounds a lot like the Pixies. I mean, they're certainly influenced by them. They're pretty good. I'm going to go see them. I don't know what you're doing, but maybe you might want to. She's like, sure, I'll go with you. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. So we speed the time up a little bit. Our clocks go fast, moving the dials as we get to the evening, and I'm now at the Belmont Inn with the girl. Christina was her name. And the band's playing, and they sound nothing like the Pixies. And so we're like in the back of the Belmont Inn. Back when the Belmont Inn had music, man, that place was great back in the day. Anyway, we're back in the back booths, and we're talking. And she does that thing that men cannot resist women to do, where they crook the finger and start beckoning you to come closer, because what they have to say is very important or quiet. And all men will fall for that, and I did. And so I get closer to her, and she says, "Can I tell you something that I've never told anybody before in my life?" I'm like, inside my head, I'm going, no, we just met. I don't need to know. Oh, but your mouth opens up and says, sure. And she says some words that will stick with me the rest of my life. She says, Kevin, last year I knifed my boyfriend. I feel kind of bad about it. What should I do? And back inside my head I'm going, ah! But of course I don't voice that. What comes out of my mouth is something like, well, it's been a year. Maybe the heat's off on this thing and you can kind of be okay. And just at that moment, because I believe I have good karma, a friend of mine comes walking in the record store and I immediately walk over to him, and I'll finish the story as soon as we let these people get by here. Cute dogs. There we go. So Keith comes into the record store and I'm like, Keith, show me your new car. And he's like, I don't have any. You have a new car. Show it to me right now. And we went outside the Belmont Inn, and without any explanation to him, I just started running. I don't know what came over me, but I ran all the way home from the bar. And I never saw this Christina again, except once. Years later, I was at a pavement show at La Luna with my new girlfriend at the time, and of course at this point I had told this story to my new girlfriend about this Christina, the knife-wielding woman, and so she knew all about her, and we spot her at the show, and we're kind of staring at her, and she never gets anywhere near us. At one point she's standing pretty close enough to recognize me, but she never says a word to me, and she's with a guy, and he doesn't look to be bleeding from open wounds, so I kind of guessed that was the end of the whole Christina saga. So I kind of nipped it in the bud by just running away. But that, my friends, is the story of the day.